r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. People who know a porn star personally, what's that like? Rachel Starr is funny, and you would probably walk right past her in public. Totally normal. She helped me move into my new apartment once. Paid her $200. And then she left. No porn story. We are still friends. My first cousin does porn, but not sure I'd call her a star. It's a matter of great discussion in the family. I have a friend who was a cam girl for a long time. She is a hopeless romantic with pretty intense social anxiety. He's a drunken, drugged up, arrogant asshole who got arrested twice in the last year for beating up his wife and endangering his children. I used to live in a loft in downtown Los Angeles. My neighbor was a porn star who also produced porn. She was a pretty regular lady, other than her fake boobs and her fake Fran Drescher laugh. She held a big porn movie release party and invited me. I thought it was going to be the best party in my life, but it was really creepy, with lots of gross guys and girls with too much makeup wearing very little. It was actually worse than it sounds. Edit. I hope nobody thinks I was bashing on this woman. While the party was seedy, she was anything but. She was always very nice to me, very kind and neighborly. We weren't close enough to be considered friends, but we were on a first name basis, and she was always very polite and sweet. I had a hairstylist who was a former adult film actress, and she told me her mission in life was to help clients go blonde as safely as possible. Apparently she worked with a company that demanded she make too many quick changes to her hair, and then it all fried off, and she had to shave her head. So she was so cautious and really great at researching new methods. My hair looked so good when she was my stylist. My former barber used to be a porn star. He was B tier, so not a big name, but easy to find. He was a really nice, friendly guy who seemed keen to make friends because he invited me to one of his regular orgies the first time I met him. I didn't go. Months later, he invited me to his 30th birthday party, a normal party, and most of the guests were his clients. I got the sense he was quite lonely. She's older, kind of popular in the early 2000s. She is an emotional mess with severe issues and threatens to kill herself every time her husband wants to divorce her. Aside from that, she's kind of nice. I'm on friendly terms with her. I try not to talk to her or spend much time around her though. One of my best friends has been a cam girl as long as I've known them, probably 12-13 years now. Delightful human being, fantastic chef, absolute menace in Helldivers. A really outgoing old girl would shop all the time at my store. We chit chat and the topic of what she does came up. She initially said streaming, but over time she said she was a cam model when I asked how she could afford her house so young. She's since moved to another state with better tax laws for her work. But she still occasionally is in town to visit family. I say hi occasionally over Instagram nowadays, but I haven't seen her since before COVID. I think the craziest part of this thread is people saying stuff like small time porn star or cam girl, and they're all like rich. Every girl I know who does camming or OnlyFans makes less than a full-time worker with no healthcare or benefits. Maybe people are mostly just talking about successful porn stars, but most are not this successful. I think when they say small time, the definition is girl who isn't an everyday name, aka a girl who may have a following on some campsite, but doesn't exactly have a subreddit with 100k followers in it. Back in the 2000s, I worked the door at a trendy bar in Hollywood. A guy came outside to smoke. He told me his friends brought him out for drinks to try and cheer him up because his girlfriend of 7 years left him 10 days ago. He said there was some really hot blonde girl at the bar that was all over him, but he wasn't into it. He still missed his girlfriend. A little bit later, I met the hot blonde and her friend. She actually said, "What's wrong with guys in Hollywood? Do I look ugly to you?" I was just talking to this guy inside and he turned me down. What exactly do I have to do? It was Jenna Jameson. Just a typical girl that liked to chill. She'd work hard for a couple months, make about 30 grand, then take a few months off. Rinse and repeat. She didn't really spend extravagantly, just smoked weed and watched a lot of movies. She didn't flaunt her job, but wasn't afraid to talk about it either. This was like 20 years ago. I wonder what's become of her. Rinse and repeat. Peter North used to come into where I worked. He was super nice, was really into performance German cars. Was with my girlfriend at a car wash once and ran into him and chatted for a bit. Trying to explain who he was a bit awkward. I babysat for her kids. Honestly, I didn't know when I started. I thought she was just a voluptuous pretty white lady with some really neglected kids. Then one weekend she disappeared to Miami and left me with her kids without prior agreement, but paid me $3,000, so I just let go and never babysat for her again. She followed me on Instagram a little while later, and I discovered that she was a porn star that only did black men gangbangs. I honestly just really feel sorry for her kids. They were good kids just in a tough situation. Someday one of that boy's friends will find their mom on Pornhub and destroy his life. A friend was staying with friends, and one was a minor porn star. She was really hard to put up with. Her boyfriend had to throw out his playboys, but she was allowed to cheat, only if it was another girl. She would flaunt her money, leave cash around, and accuse anyone of stealing if she misplaced it. She had a price that she could be bought for. She'd sleep with someone for 10 grand and would leave her boyfriend for 100 grand. That was 30 years ago, and I guess they are still together and married. I read a minor porn star the wrong way at first. She's gone down a Q rabbit hole since COVID. One of my best friends for years, but I watched her go from outgoing, approachable and sociable to being radicalized from her isolation, being terminally online, and her experiences from prostitution or OnlyFans or adult films. I miss my old friend. I can barely talk to her now without her going on about Michelle Obama being a man or the demons of the New World Order. I met Jordan Mack just out of high school through the local music scene. We used to go to lots of concerts together. She has remained very similar to how she was back then. She's still super into emo music and is a bit desperate to find love. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to understand how much her career limits her options with the types of men who are interested in her. She thinks all men are terrible because the only type of guys to generally want to date a porn star are likely not the highest caliber of dudes. I also know Jenny Rosens. She grew up with a bunch of my friends from Chicago and lived with them in Los Angeles before getting into the business. She's super driven and talented in lots of ways. She was running several fairly successful businesses she had started before she got into the industry. Now she seems to be working considerably less and just enjoying the fuck out of it. She's also a very talented artist in her spare time. She painted 2 large oil paintings for me that hang behind my living room couch. Ron Jeremy went into a local shop where I live. My friend works there, and he decided to grab her tit. Complete sleaze bag. She has heaps of money and vacations every second month. She can't keep a long-term relationship because they always get jealous. She constantly has UTIs and other health issues. She has to deal with horrific men and has stalkers. But she has a shopping addiction and can't find another job where she makes as much as she does doing sex work. Used to hook up with her, so it's especially weird, but I would say the most surprising part is how different she is versus how she acts on camera. There's way more acting happening in porn than just the shitty dialogue. My opinion might be slightly different, as I live in Japan, and most of the ones I've known or met are retired or relatively inactive. The one thing that seems to be the same and true is they are just regular people. It's just a job to them. They aren't sex obsessed or anything, but they are a bit more forward and open about those things in conversation. The worst thing I can say is most of them love to drink, some of them to a very unhealthy excess. Advice for people that do meet them: don't bombard them with questions. If they want to talk about it, they will. If you just obsess over their job and do nothing but ask questions, they'll answer but won't want to befriend you or talk that long. I have met and interacted with a few. They are just people like all the rest of us. The only difference is that you see them in a sexual interaction. If you saw the normal people you know in a sexual interaction, you may see that they are not so different. We all have different wants, needs and interests. We all make livings in different ways. Live and let live. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.